to start it off, like, what games are you playing right now?
Dude, and when I get a chance to play, I think I still play. I gravitate towards CS2 now. Yeah. So Valorant, I watch a lot of Valorant still, and you might see my cat every now and then. By the way, so
I was gonna say, I was like, what is the creature? Yeah. Is it a cat or not? I couldn't tell with the blur.
Yeah, there's a blur there, and there's a tail right here. So yeah, I watch a lot of Valorant. I would say I watch the most. I watch Valorant the most, but I play CS the most.
Every night?
Nah, I think maybe twice a week. I try to play. I got a couple people from back in the day. You remember like Semphis and D Chosen. Those guys. They sometimes 10-man. So that's always cool to be a part of. But what about you two? What are you guys gaming?
I'm playing Warzone right now, and I don't really love it, but my friends are playing it. Like literally every time I die, I look at the kill cam and it's someone with a controller that's just aim assisting me, tracking me the whole way. And I'm like, okay, cool, whatever.
Well, what are your thoughts on cross-platform then? Like in general, not a big fan, right?
No.
I don't like it.
I
no.
mean, I don't know why anyone would ever cheat. Jamie,
So I actually told him the story.
So that's crazy. I don't know why people would do that shit, dude.
Yeah. So I was telling him, I'm like, yeah, when I was coaching Evil Geniuses Valorant, Valens messaged me and I didn't know. I'm like, Valens, I'm like, hey, what's up, man? Whatever, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, hey, do you remember alias Crotex? And I'm like, yeah, he's the cheater. Like when we were 14 years old, that's the guy that no one could prove he was cheating, but they're like, this guy's cheating, that type of thing. And he's like, that's me. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. I'm like, there's no way that
oh man,
this is happening right now.
It's such a crazy memory too, Wayne, because I think Jimmy was on one of my very first. This is like when we were like super young, like one of my first back then we called them clans or whatever teams, right? But I sort of Jimmy, you were either on my first or maybe my second team ever, and then obviously you ended up being like this professional player in Counter-Strike and making it legit. I'm like, God damn, dude, he made it all the way legit. That's crazy. That's crazy. But Wayne, before we get too far, what's your favorite game?
Right now, I'm playing. I have 3 kids, 2 that play games all day, which is like my excuse now to just play more games. Like I went through that period of like going to college and being a grown up, and like I'm get to play less. And now they're like 11 and 8, my 2 oldest. So right now, all we're playing is Rivals, like Rivals. It was a lot of Overwatch 2 for a while, Fortnite. Roblox games that aren't really games, that are just like, oh, get in this elevator, or like obby, you know what I mean, like stuff that I gotta like teach my kids, like that's not a game, like that's can we please not play that? But yeah, it's funny because I mean even cross-play and Rivals, there's just a button to check that's like, no, actually make this console only or whatever, and I'm like, why even give the option? Like,
yeah.
So do you actually think it has potential then to be like the next, what's that category called when it's like, there's a payload or whatever, and then
a hero shooter?
Hero shooter, there you go. So do you think it can be the next big hero shooter, or is it just right now right in the hype?
I don't know. It's tough. I mean, I saw they kept like 90% of players from the first month. I will say I was really surprised. I wasn't really that interested to try it, but my kids, they were like, oh, we want to try this like game. I want to be Iron Man. I'm like, okay, cool. And they were obsessed with Overwatch 2 right before that. Yeah. And that was because like they came out with a Transformers pack. Like they quit playing, they were all playing Fortnite. Then they saw, wait, Transformers and Overwatch? Oh, I want to play that.
Got them back.
Yeah, so we started playing, and I was kind of shocked. I was really impressed with like how balanced the game was with that many agents and abilities and kind of whatever. It's super quick to get in and out of matches. And I do find myself like, I'll just look down. I'm like, why am I still playing this? Like I'm saying I'm playing with my kids, but then like everyone in the house goes to bed.
Yeah,
go back to play more Rivals.
It's like we can't get in touch with Wayne. He's he's grinding.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think so. I mean, they have like, obviously Marvel's massive IP, but who knows? It's so hard to make a game like with the longevity, obviously, of like a Counter-Strike, even an Overwatch between 1 and 2, right? There's just so few that stand the test of time, no matter what. So I don't know. If not, it's fun while it's here at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. And I have a question about that as well. For like, how do you have like different? Does Aimlabs work with those types of shooters yet? I haven't used it for like last time I played Overwatch. I don't think Aimlabs was on my radar. For example, I played this like years ago, right? So like many years ago. I never even played Overwatch 2. So do you think those kinds of things help with when there's compared to like Valorant CS, which is like more traditional first person and point and click kind of, how does that work with like Aimlabs in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because when I started Aimlabs, it was because I was just playing Overwatch all the time, and I was like, oh man, I want something else to kind of practice. And it was okay, I want to master Farah's rocket, and like it's a projectile, it's not hit scan. Like, what is that like? Can I get enemies at different distances and kind of practice that? I mean, I feel the same thing. I was like yelling at the team this week, like, why don't we have more rivals tasks and content? Because I'm like, okay, like all I want to practice over and over again is like Mantis and her projectile killing an Iron Man who's flying around, right? Like I can't get enough of that in the game. It's so frustrating. I'm getting punished. And I at least like go not feel like total shit and practice doing that. Practice on the maps, learn the maps, kind of, whatever. So I think like just being able to recreate something that gets you those reps in, that can make you feel a little bit more confident and not have like just end the suffering a little bit sooner than it is just by like grinding and going through it, is helpful. It's helpful for sure. I would love to do. We tried to do stuff beyond mechanical skill, like with Valorant. We have a partnership with Riot where you can replay your deaths in Valorant in Aimlabs on that map.
Okay.
And you can replay it over and over. And we'll do like data analytics. We'll show you like where your crosshair placement should have been as you rounded that corner or as you were going to hold that angle.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you can do more like game specific situational things. Yeah. And I would love to be able to do that with more games too, right? So that you can actually, what went wrong there? What should I do about it? Let me practice that thing that pissed me off like 20 times now.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to worry about that if you play against Jimmy, though, because he's probably going to whiff. Right, Jimmy?
Actually, I'm actually dog shit at Marvel Rivals. I think it's just like there's too much stimulus, there's too much going on, and then you also have to know what every character does.
It's a lot.
Like the very first time I played, Jeff just ate me up and threw me off the map, and I'm like, what just happened? Like, man. I don't even know. I don't get
who's Jeff?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a shark, right? Yeah. What are people talking about, dude?
I grew up with comic books. I never saw a dude named Jeff.
Yeah, in Marvel. Yeah.
Gobbling people up. I thought it was a joke at first.
Yeah. No, it definitely sounded like a joke.
Yeah. That's the same thing. I still don't know all the characters, like what they do. So I just like pick a handful of them and I'll just like, I'll play these.
Yeah. You know, that's an interesting topic too. Like, I feel like if you don't play a game actively nowadays, your impression of a game, at least if you're like, casually or competitive casual gamer, your impression of a game is pretty much all through like highlights and stream clips and things like that, So back then, I mean, I'm sure you guys remember the way we understood games, what was out there that we don't play yet are like reviews on IGN or like
yeah, for sure.
GameSpot or like, Electronic Gaming Monthly, the magazine, whatever it was, right? Like, so it's like if you didn't play it, maybe you had a friend in school that played it, but usually it's like you follow like this professional review and like, what they said is gold, right? And it's interesting because like with the times, like with the news cycle and things like that, media has become more like, everyday people kind of are your media sources now too, news sources too. I think with gaming too, like we're understanding of games are also like, what are our content creators doing with it? Not professional, the media review companies or anything like that. So I haven't played Rivals, for example, right? But I feel like I have. Just from watching all this content coming at me, with Jeff, Iron Man, like, it's just all in your face all the time. Makes you feel like you're missing out a little bit, right? So I'm curious, like for you too, like what game or what like wave do you feel like you've missed out on in the last like couple few years, or if you feel like you didn't have a family, you go back to like your grind days, you had all the time in the world, like what would you have done? Like obviously, Jimmy, you've been a pro. You've led that life already, but what do you feel like you could have or would have done slightly differently, if anything? I'm very curious on both of you guys' perspective.
I think for me, I left at the wrong time. like, because right after I stopped playing Counter-Strike, I mean, it was 2008 recession, whatever, all the money got pulled out. But then after a few years later, it came back, but it came back full force, and they started selling skins and did this. The prize pools were $1 million. Like, I remember competing at World Cyber Games. The first place I think was 50 grand or something like that, right? So I think, like, for me, if I were to turn back time, I think I would have continued to play and see if I could have stayed at the top or whatever, right? Because even when I came back, I think what kind of like sparked my interest. So I stopped playing games right around 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
I didn't play any games at all. Like, I literally didn't even have a computer at home anymore.
Oh wow.
And then I was randomly on vacation. I posted on Facebook that I was going to be in Taiwan at this time. And then Kyle messages me, K Sharp, and he says, "Oh, you'll be in Taiwan? Same." And I'm like, "Okay, sure. Like, let's meet up then, right?" And then I meet up with him, and he's like, "Dude, gaming's crazy now. These are the prize pools. There's streaming." And I'm like, "What's streaming?" And like he
People
explained,
watch other people.
yeah, I know. Yeah,
Like,
like,
what?
why do they need to do that, right? And then he explained it to me, and then I came back, and then we kind of just played ESA for a little bit, but I saw like what gaming turned into, and I mean, I've always wanted to be a part of it, like get back into it, right? But I was working a full-time job doing whatever, so that's why I'm super grateful that I'm working here now. It's because like I kind of do get to turn back time, not as a player, but I get to still be involved.
Yep.
So that's kind of what it is for me.
I feel it's like there aren't enough hours in the days, and there's too many like cool games now. Like again, when we were growing up, you didn't have the choice and like the saturation of like high quality games that there are today, where it's like, I don't know, there isn't even enough time in the day. I'll start games and I won't finish them. That'll be the other thing. Like I'll start some cool game, I'll be like, this is awesome. And especially like RPGs, because I would love to use like gaming as an escape, right? Where I'm just like, I mean, again, like for whatever reason, I'll be like, I'm gonna go relax and play some Rivals. It's not relaxing. I'm playing ranked. I'm getting just pissed off, right? Like I just lost 6 in a row, and now I'm not gonna sleep for 2 hours. You know what I mean? But like RPGs or whatever, and I'll start. What was the last one? Ghost of Tsushima or whatever.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous. It was amazing. And I'm just like, I just don't have time to play this anymore. So it feels like there's so much stuff I missed out on. Like Elden Ring, everyone's playing Elden Ring, right? And I'm like, I bought it and I played for like 5 minutes and I like fell off the map or something and died. And I was like, I'm good.
Like, you got that taste, so you're good.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, this is hard.
Dude, I swear, and I'm sure you guys can relate here. Like the thought of playing a game and finishing it is way more exciting than actually like sitting down and actually grinding it out. You know, like the thought of doing many things, like the thought of going to the gym is sick. You know, I would love that. It's like those kinds of things too are funny to me, because it's like there's something about that human nature, right? Like where it's like, you know what you want to do, but you know, like you even trick yourself to thinking like, I'm gonna get everything done this day early so I can then go and chill and play some games. Time comes and you're like, you know what, be pretty good right now, a fucking nap. That might be pretty nice. So no, I think as you get older, I think that's what happens. But dude, Jimmy, the you know what you said, like to stay kind of relevant and like in the loop in esports too, I think picking something up like this, working on Aimlabs, working on State Space, and that's the main reason I also kind of got into after my professional playing and coaching career. Like I also wanted to stay in esports in some way, you know, if I could. And like it wasn't like a straight kind of path in terms of like what can you do once you're done with your pro career, right? Whether it's coaching or playing. So similar to you guys, like you can do so much with game data and analytics nowadays too. Like, you know, obviously all the games are, especially Counter-Strike and Valorant both, you know, if you have access to Valorant data, that's great. It's one data point per second. That's kind of what we get access to as a pro team, right? And at AEG, CS, dude, Valve gives you access to anything because they don't care. Like you like, I mean, I'm sure you guys know, you get access to 64 or 128 points per data points per player per second, because they just give you access to everything, you know, like in their demo files. So I'm very curious if Valorant replay files will ever become a thing, and when it does, hopefully it does, what data we can extract from it, or if Riot will allow it even. There's a lot of data there for sure that doesn't come through yet. Like I don't know if you guys have access to this data, but like, how's util being used? How are the abilities being used? Measuring the efficiency, or like, every time you're throwing your util, what's your damage when it's a damage dealing ability? Those types of data points are still missing, and I think that'll change. Like that'll be like the next wave of like using analytics in Val for sure, Valorant.
Well, I mean, like while we're on that subject of data, so obviously you were the coach of the only NA team to ever win, but like how much of that played into your team at the time, right? Like how much of that were you actually using? How did it change outcomes of certain things? How did your team prepare using it? Like what are some of the stuff?
Yeah, did that. So I was talking about Cloud9 2018 team, Boston, Counter-Strike here. And man, it was the funniest thing ever because I had some players on my team that really got the game at such a high level, probably more of an understanding of the actual like micro than I would, right? Because they're the ones playing it, grinding it 12, 14 hours a day. You don't have to guide them too much, but you need to be able to help them solve problems in the moment when they like have a mental block when it comes to like they're competing, right? When you're taking those pauses as a coach, dude, it's crazy because if there was a metric of like data used per pause, I'm sure we would be at the tippity top. Meaning like I wouldn't ever take pauses or say something in pauses that I didn't have super backed up with going into the game already, knowing like this is the best thing we can call at this moment because of the situation that's unfolded, right? So for that team specifically, a lot of the data was used in prep work that was used during the game, not prep work in order to prepare for the, what are we going to do in the first 3 to 5 rounds? Because we based kind of the game plan more of what is comfortable for us, how our scrims going, how did our scrims and past matches go against this specific team. So data was used there a little bit for sure, because certain types of teams are weak at holding certain sites and things like that. What sites are they? Okay, if they're worse at holding B on gun rounds, then we know which pool of strats, which pool of defaults to pull from, right? But the data that was unique that we've used in that I used in Cloud9 for CS quite a bit was when a pause got called and the team is like running out of ideas. There's always like, in my opinion, the best time to use data is when the subject matter experts, in this case the players, are starting to run out of, okay, what should we do next? So in this situation, maybe you have a mixed buy, maybe you have a full gun round, whatever it is. We know what map it is. Obviously, we're playing it. We know the economy situation pretty well, right? Ours and theirs, and we also know who's on a hot streak on another team, and also on our team. So those are I'm kind of simplifying, but those are the main data points I use beforehand, before the match ever started, to identify, okay, if we're in this kind of situation with those parameters, this is the best type of strat from our playbook. This is what they're weak at holding. This is their favorite setups when the game gets close. These are their go-to setups in the first 30 seconds. If you throw a smoke here, then you can expect this rotation. So those are the what I just said there are basically the data points we use to decide how we adapt.
Yeah.
Back then. I mean, it's changed, I'm sure, quite a bit since then in how people use data in CS. But for sure, back then, I highly doubt any other team was using data like that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Was it the same thing in CS with the pauses? Like you got one pause a half? Or how did that work?
Yeah, back then it was 2 pauses per half, but they're 30 seconds each. Oh, yeah. And you also got to talk as a coach in between the 2 halves and pregame. Obviously, so pregame, 2 pauses per half. You got an extra pause for overtime, and then you also got to talk in like the minute and a half, I think, break, quote unquote, between the halves. Those are the times that coaches got to talk. And obviously, back then, at least, you didn't get to use an electronic notes, because I mean, that opens up potential for cheating, right? Which again, no one will cheat. But I always had a notebook, and like in the notebook, printed out of whatever I wanted to review, and most of it also was just in my head, and the players that the running joke we had is because you don't want to talk too much as a coach when the players are in the zone, right? You can easily take them out of their flow state or out of their rhythm, right? You don't want to do that. So the joke we had in the team in C9 was Soham, like you should know the most going into the game, but you speak the least. Because again, like the time to impact the game is if the players are struggling, right? Imagine you've done all this prep work, the players have, done all these scrims. You scrim what, like back then still was like between 4 to 6 times a day, right? You're scrimming a lot compared to how many official games you're playing, right? That ratio is super skewed towards practice. So you're practicing a bunch of things, and then you go into a game, and one mistake that players and coaches do when it comes to prepping for matches is like you go so heavy on anti-stratting this current game you're about to play that you don't even think about like the practice you just had leading up to that. Like what was working well, what was feeling good, what maps felt better than official stats say, those kind of things. Like you throw all that out of the window because you get hyper focused on prepping, and like it's almost like you wasted a lot of practice in order to now play this new mini game of preparing for a new team or preparing for this one match, and like you unintentionally put your players in scenarios that they don't have many reps on, right? And that's not good. You want, the whole point is like try to replicate as much as you can, because of course there's like another team involved, right, that you don't control. As much as possible, put your team in situations that they have reps on, right? That's the simplest way to try to get consistency out of your team. And if you like suddenly play this whole other game of like preparing and anti-stratting and counter-stratting and focus too much on that, you're pulling them away from that.
I mean,
yeah, it's a really good point.
Yeah,
it reminds me, like in combat sports, right? You would have some people that are like, yeah, all I do is watch tape and I'm like preparing for this particular thing. And you have other guys that are just like, I'm just going to go impose my will. Like, I'm not going to change what I do for them.
Yeah.
I'm going to make them adapt to me. Like, this is, I mean, that's like the perfect point. Like, you train, you play all of this, you put all this time in. It does start to then, when you really think about it, feel counterintuitive. It'd be like, I'm going to no longer rely on all the stuff I put time into.
Yeah.
To kind of like out chess move and anti-strat, just for this particular opponent.
Yeah.
It's tempting for sure, right? You want to play that game of being above the other team in strategy, going into the game, the mind games, but it's a little too tempting. And when something is a little too tempting, you got to analyze like it was really the right thing to do, right? For your team. But Jimmy, were you about to say something? Sorry.
No, I wanted to bring it back to cheating. Like, I wanted, because wait, how old are you?
Cheating.
Soham, how old are you?
Oh man, I'm 35. I'll be 36 this year.
Yeah, so I'm turning 37 this year.
Me too. Plus,
no, but it means
100 plus years of experience, right?
Yeah,
in this group, that's crazy.
No, but it means like when we were playing, I think I must have been like 14 or 13 or something like that, which means you were like 11. How did you figure out how to cheat?
Yeah, so like the backstory of that too. So this is my first competitive game out of consoles, like outside of consoles, was playing Counter-Strike. And it was only because like, most people, your older brother gets involved or older sibling or in some way. My brother was playing, he was like, let's play CS. I got this game, got the CD key or whatever, right? Back then. Yeah. And him and his friends, which were my brother is a year, 9 months, so almost 2 years older than me, but we were only separated by a grade, like in school, right? Yeah. Like one class grade. So him and his friends were playing, they were better. And I'm like, dude, I don't have time to get better at this shit, right? So that's how initially that justification starts in your head. But I'm 11. I'm like 10 or 11. I can't even remember. Like I was 10 or 11.
10 or 11.
Yeah, no, that's the funny part, right? I'm like, dude, I got, back then, dude, I got AIM messages to send. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, who's gaming right now, man? Like, I got all these friends from school to talk to. I'm trying to get a girl to like, everything, whatever an 11-year-old is thinking about at the time, right? So like, I started playing. I'm like, this game's pretty fun, but I'm not that good. So at that time too, I was just getting into like learning. Okay, like what is this like coding thing back then? I don't know if you guys remember, but in school they would let you program a robot, but like if you're not really programming it, it's just like you're entering some commands and the robot does some shit, like a Lego robot or something, right? And I was like, this programming thing is pretty cool. At the same time, like Counter-Strike, there's a lot of like in I think chat rooms, or I don't even know where I found this, but at some point people were talking about like, hey, there's a source code. Try this out. You can work on your you can figure out how to make your aim better, something like that. It was like some stupid post. I think that's what the first post I ever read related to like hacks in Counter-Strike, you know. And I'm like, this is pretty sick. And I remember immediately I downloaded something from someone else. I wasn't working on it myself yet, obviously, right? I didn't know what I was doing yet. Immediately I used some stupid shit. I got banned. This is like way early, way early. And my brother's like, dude, I can't play anymore. Like, you guys remember one IDs back then, right? You know, and I'm like, what the hell, dude? We have to buy another game again. I'm like, oh my god, I feel so bad. So then I waited for a few months until I could buy my own version of like my own CD key, you know, so that I can mess around with it or whatever. And that's when it really took off. I'm like, all right, I don't feel bad if something happens here. I'm just like messing around, tinkering around with the game. And dude, back then the source code for like these other hacks were already pretty good, but they weren't undetectable. So the game that I was playing back then wasn't so much Counter-Strike as much as I'm like, hey, this thing that's detected, let's try to make it undetectable. Yeah. So that's where I first entered my coding. I literally learned how to code through learning how to make something that works well in the game, but it's detected by their anti-cheat. I don't know what it was. It wasn't called VAC back then. It was called something else. I can't remember, but yeah, that was literally how I learned how to code, is making hacks for Counter-Strike. Initially,
I had a similar thing, but I'm like an old man, so it was like AOL 2.5 hacks and programs back then, like mass mailers in the chat room and instant message bots, error punters to kick people offline. Like that was it. And I was yeah. Or like all that stuff. And I was like, it made me feel like superhuman. You know what I mean? Again, I'm like 12 or something, right? And you're just like, and people forget, like, the internet was just kind of like really becoming a thing and everything. And you're like, whoa, I can like make things that impact all this stuff. Feels like absolutely amazing. Yeah, the same. I think a lot of people I talked to, engineers, got their initial start in coding in maybe not the most in a particular way, right? Where they're just like, okay, and then that sets them off on like that path. Like then I learned how to make games. That was it. I was like, oh, I could do this. Like I love games. Holy shit, I want to make a game. And then it was like,
something I would really love to get your guys' thoughts, because I've never talked to someone about the psychology behind this. Obviously, as a teenage, like 11, 12-year-old, there's not too much psychology going on in terms of like, you just do whatever your mind is set on at that moment, right? But I'm very curious, like in terms of being good at something, you get good at something almost by accident, but then that becomes it could become like your career path, right? Yeah. How did you guys get started on like the fact that, like, Jimmy, obviously you became good at a game really quickly, you became a pro, but did you expect that? Like, did you go into and you're like, I'm gonna grind this? Did you almost do it as like a way of rebelling, eating like schoolwork? Like, what was your story there? And same with you, Wayne. Same question for you, but how'd you get started? Like, was it by accident? In terms of like your career paths that you've had until now, pro player, and obviously working here and whatever else you've done, like how'd you get associated with it?
Yeah, I mean, like, it must have been escape, right? I think like we talked with Kaplan, and he was saying like games is that's how you escape, right? So I'm sure it started as that, and then actually I feel like I got like really addicted like right away. I went to a friend's house. I remember playing Counter-Strike beta, and I was just like, this is fucking awesome. Like, what is this, right? And then it just got me hooked. And I remember as a child, like, we grew up poor, single mom raising 3 kids, right? So I had to do, if I wanted a computer, I had to figure out a way to buy it, right? So I remember going, like, my first job was at the community center where we would paint fences for elderly people. I'd get like $100 every 2 weeks. As soon as I got that 100, I would hop on the train and go buy one part if I could. And like I was stacking these parts in my room and like trying to get all of it. And then I think like as soon as I built that computer and I figured out how to play in League, like Cal League at the time. Yep. And I could feel myself progressing. I think that's when I was like, this is what I want to do. Like I want to give this my all. And it was also fun too, right? Yeah, that's kind of like how I started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine was just all over the place.
Yeah.
All over the place. I mean, gaming was like the consistency thing for me, for sure. Was like, it's much weirder that I ever became like a neuroscientist and got a PhD and stuff because I fucking hated school. I was terrible at it. I failed math. I failed science. I had like a 1.7, 1.8 GPA when I graduated high school.
Yeah.
I thought it was so if two trains leave a station at the same time, who gets there fast? Who gives a shit? I don't, there's no trains near me. I don't care. When am I going to use any of this? I want to go home and play games. I would go in high school and like Visual Basics was the first thing that I learned again because it was like building AOL hack little programs and stuff like that. And I would be in my notebook, like in class, not paying attention because I didn't give a shit what they were saying. And I'm like writing VB code so I could go home and just get a head start. Like, yeah, this is what I'm going to make. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to type this out. Like it was just an obsession. I didn't think that I could ever do anything with it though. It was just kind of like, no one of my parents, we didn't go to college, like any of that stuff. It was like growing up here, same thing, grew up poor, you're gonna go work in around here in Youngstown's like the mill, the factory, something like that. And just did a bunch of stuff from like waiting tables, bartending. Did you ever see that HBO documentary Telemarketers?
No, I don't think I have.
Oh man, it's ridiculous.
Okay.
Wild story. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. I won't spoil it for you, but that was like my first job. And I was a manager there for 3 years. And it was identical to that movie. I mean, identical. That was the most realistic portrayal. But I did like all these things. And I just meandered everywhere. I didn't really get into college till like my late 20s. And even then, it was like, okay, if I get this stupid piece of paper that says computer science degree, I can get a job in gaming. Like someone will hire me to be a game developer if I can just get this stupid piece of paper. And I like go to college, and they're like, okay, yeah, here's this thing. We're gonna teach you like a calculator. I'm like, a calculator, and I'm using like Torque 3D to make like games and stuff. I'm like, this is so stupid. Yeah, and then like eventually, it was a total accident to discover neuroscience because I was like, I don't know. I was just still even in college, just a total procrastinator, like registered for classes late. And they're like, yeah, okay, here's this class about the brain. I'm like, I don't know, whatever. Maybe that's cool. Like the brain seems cool. And like the first week of that class, mind blowing. Like I was just like, holy crap. So wait, people think of the brain as just like an alien computer dropped off on Earth that we don't understand. Yeah. Like you can try and reverse engineer that and they pay you for that. Like that's a job. You just like wake up and like, yeah, we don't know how this works. Let's try and figure it out. Like that's real. Yeah. Oh, I want to do that.
Yeah, no, good.
No, but that's it. And that was it. Like I changed my major. I started doing research at Fox Chase Cancer Center, then Temple University, like the early days of like the brain training games, which itself was like a moment for me, right? Because when we grew up playing games, it was not cool. That was like a pejorative term to be like a gamer or whatever. It's not like something that's kind of cool to do. So like going to that lab and they're like using games, these computerized games, and it's like, no, these things could have a positive impact on human abilities, memory, attention, reading, cognition. I was like, yeah, like gaming for good, like it has a positive impact. It's not going to rot your brain.
Makes so much sense on how you obviously ended up being where you are now, right?
Like, totally. Yeah, it starts to meld together.
It's amazing, man. I mean, it's like maybe okay. So obviously, I don't know how much psychology, if any, that you learn in the neuroscience aspect of it, because you might learn like exactly how things work, but you tell me. Like one thing I'm super curious about is like and I'm gonna go back. We got to bring everything back to cheating, right? Yeah. So I'm gonna go back to that. So you know, I feel like because I got that out of my system early in my life, right? Not career, not anything like that. My life, right? Yeah, I'm a teenager. I got that early. I have no feelings of wanting to do something that's like untoward or like that would affect my reputation now. Yeah. As soon as I became an adult, and really it was kind of college ending to my first real-time job, or first full-time job, did my master's full-time job. By that point, like I didn't have any feelings of like, hey, I want to figure out how to do something, a way to make money or a way to get ahead in life that would put other people's lives at in a negative light, because obviously if you're hacking in a game, you're impacting other people's time in a game. They may think that who knows, like maybe I made people quit the game that thought they were terrible because they're losing to a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, right?
Yeah.
I feel bad about it. I was smiling. I feel bad about it. I hope that didn't happen. But if it happened, I'm glad that at least that I got past that BS early in my life, so then I didn't have to bring it later. And I'm very curious from like a neuroscience perspective, but also Jimmy, like from just like a perspective of someone who became kind of an athlete, early in a way, cyber athlete, right? Cal cyber athlete.
We didn't call it that before.
No, that was a joke, right? Like Cal.
I'll say, where's the hoodie?
Yeah,
Aimlabs Athletics.
Yeah, but in there. For folks that don't get, that are super sheltered growing up, for folks that don't get it out of their system early, whatever it is. I mean, you kind of have almost like plausible deniability when you're young, when you're doing stupid shit, right? Yeah. So it almost, at least for me, it made me into a better person later in my life when things actually mattered. Yeah, in terms of like people are expecting something from you. You're an adult now, right? I'm very curious. Like, do you find that experience from a neuroscience perspective? Did you learn about that? Why is that a thing? For people who are sheltered, they a lot of times, maybe this is anecdotal, but they end up doing something they shouldn't be doing later in life because they were so sheltered growing up, right? And mine was always like the flip of that. So, yeah, what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, that's it. I think like experience shapes who we are, and then also like early on versus later. And I remember learning about, like, for a while I was really into like criminology and like the biology of crime and psychopaths and like stuff like that, and reading about theories of like, why people as you get older tend to commit crimes less or less likely to commit crimes is because you have things to lose. Like you actually have friends, responsibilities, people, family, whatever, that you're just kind of like, this shit is not worth it. Like it's not even worth that kind of risk. And like when you're young, I don't think we really make those calculations for the most part. And you're learning boundaries and all this stuff, right? Like even when you're younger, you're just like, put your hand in fire or whatever. Like, yeah, you probably shouldn't do that. Right. But you do, and you learn, and you're just like, oh, okay. And those experiences start to form, those boundaries and a sense of identity and who you are. And yeah, I mean, I think that's it. Like maybe folks later, they never experience that. And I've seen it. Like I went to a super strict private Christian high school, right? Like super fundamentalist. Like if you never saw the Jesus Can't documentary on Netflix, like that, like rolling on the ground, crying, speaking in tongues kind of thing, like kids, right? Wow. And a lot of those kids that grew up like that, I know several of them that, yeah, they got some shit out of their system later.
Yeah. It's great. I mean, for sure, it feels like there's something there. And like Jimmy, like, I know you said that you got into pro, like getting into gaming, you obviously realized you were good and like it was an escape for you, and it just became something that you stuck to because you were actually like good at it. But how did you know you were good? And how did you know, once you knew you were good, did you become like a dedicated, like was your life dedicated around, because you were a teenager too, right? When you learned you were good, did your life become dedicated around it, kind of like similar to a traditional sports athlete, or were you just kind of figuring things out by the seat of your pants and like, do you consider yourself like someone who's aspiring to be a professional in that moment?
I don't think so. Like I think I knew I was good when, because back in the day, you joined a pub server, you joined the same pub server, Dust 2 all the time, 24/7.
Yep.
And then you play, and then you kind of see people in there, they're tagged up their clan names, and it was EG, because EG, Evil Geniuses, was an Alberta clan before, right? So I would see those people in there, and then I would be playing, and I'm like, oh, I can like kind of frag these guys or whatever. And then I don't even know how I ended up at my first LAN, but we placed right behind them. And I was like, oh, okay, so I'm pretty good at this, because these are people that I look up to, right? I've been playing against them. I think they're like the best. I remember there was a guy, his name was EG Razorback.
Oh, dude.
And he had a sick op. Like I was like, this guy's the best opera I've ever seen in my life. Yep. And then like I played him at a tournament, and like I was almost there, and I was like, oh shit, like I'm pretty good, right? But I think like I never was like, oh, I'm gonna go pro, because that wasn't a thing before, right? Like people were just playing and having fun, and they would go to LANs or whatever, but it wasn't a real profession. But it was something that I really enjoyed, and I just kept to it. But yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. It's kind of strange thinking back, because even to this day, I don't know that I considered myself a pro. Like, yeah, I got paid money, and I got to travel and play at tournaments or whatever. But when I think back, it was just like that was just all for fun, you know?
Yeah, maybe there's some people out there that were like, yeah, I really looked up to Jimmy Lin. You were somebody PG Razorback, right?
Yeah.
Like,
We're joking about it for sure, man. Like Jimmy, his reputation preceded him. You know, when it came to by the time you were on, were you on EG or 3D first? I can't even remember right now.
I was on EG and then
EG.
3D for Source.
Right. Okay, gotcha. So you moved to 3D for Source.
Yeah.
Right. That's when is that when K-Sharp hit you up or was that before? Yeah, okay. So dude, no, I mean by the time Jimmy was on EG, what was the team you were on right before EG?
I feel like it was like Jack's Money Crew.
Yeah, it was something like that. Right. Yeah, by the time he was, I think not even on EG, but there was like a 1 or 2 teams before EG when like, dude, people were like, Jimmy Lin. Like if you saw him in the server, like you felt some type of way. Like for me, for me, it was like you're a bloodshot, obviously, right? On EG, right? Matt Stevenson. Like he was like the pinnacle of what I consider like a professional player back then. And, you know, obviously he was initially K-Sharp and the 3D guys, North America, you know, United States and all that kind of stuff. But I somehow gravitated more towards EG from the start as well. From like the North American scene, it was this Canadian, you know, team. And for some reason, when I saw Jimmy make it to EG, I'm like, holy shit, we made it. Even though I was
yeah. We did it, boys.
And not only that, I wasn't even playing, you know, in a legit way to even have, but I just felt like because I knew Jimmy at some level there, and I'm not even sure we were even, you know, speaking much back then because he was actually playing, you know, professionally. But it's just so funny because when you see other people's success that you were somehow peripherally associated to, you're just like, yeah, we did it, dude. It's just like that part of like you're almost like seeking validation for the effort you put in, right? In a way, because otherwise, like, why do people do anything? I mean, you eventually want to be good at what you do. Imagine spending like hundreds and thousands of hours on something where you end up just being mediocre at, right? And the funny thing is like I think we're all here and in some way exceptional at what we do, right? And I think that's a cool part, but it's an interesting thing that there are a lot of people just do this stuff for fun because they like it. And I'm very curious about that too. I've never been the type of person that picked up something and stuck to it if I wasn't good at it. So it's almost like self-selection bias or whatever the term is in terms of like, I end up being good at things I do, but I only select things to do that I'm pretty good at or have a knack for. You know what I mean? So I'm curious, like, do you guys like to take things on that are so new that you have to spend so much extra time to get good at to begin with before you can reap the benefits, whether it's to yourself or, you know, social validation, whatever it is? Or do you only really pick up things that you probably are already going to be pretty good at, you know?
Changed for me over time. Like I think the older I get, the less I'm like, because you start to make those calculations, right? Of like, I can get X enjoyment out of this and I have this level of competency. Do I really want to sink all this time into whatever else to kind of get to the same level or different or kind of whatever, right? So I think for me that's changed over time. I'm just kind of like, you know, and it also took me so long to find stuff like, you know, I didn't go to college till my late 20s, whatever, to grad school in my 30s. It took me so long to find something I'm like, yeah, okay, I feel like I belong, like I like science, I like whatever. I feel like this is it. Maybe that'll change in a couple years, but yeah, I feel like my risk taking for putting in the time and the effort for that has diminished.
Yeah. I mean, and before I say anything, I just want to say I didn't pay him to say that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, that's not what my PayPal is saying, brother.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, honestly, the more I think about it now, like, as I get older, I don't want to learn anything new. Even sometimes when people are like, hey, let's play this game, and I'll, like, look at it and be like, well, I don't think I like that. Like, I don't want to learn, like, even Rivals, right? Like, I literally played it for maybe 3 days, and I was just like, I don't want to learn this game, right?
Yeah.
But, like, if you want to play Counter-Strike, let me know. Warzone's fine because we're playing Resurgence. You just keep dropping. So, like, things like that, I'm okay with. But, like, learning something completely new now, like you guys are talking about coding, like I dabbled, but I didn't stick with it, right? Because it, like, yeah, that's kind of like how I feel now. Maybe it'll change, but yeah. What about you?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm the same way, man. I think like it's difficult to justify carving out an immense amount of time that we know at this point is required to get good at anything, right? Anything new. That take that time out and then focus on this other thing. And meanwhile, like you have all these other responsibilities and your other stuff that is your day to day. It's obviously harder to do when you get older, as you get older, but I still think I was like that in some way, even when I was younger. Like at a certain point, where I was maybe in my early 20s or maybe late teens, I'm not sure, but I stopped, I think, gravitating towards like, let's just experience something new and like, let's travel the world. Some people have that mentality of like, let's just always explore and do new things. And dude, I mean, pretty early on in my life, I don't think I had that feeling. I was just like, nah, I'm happy with like, okay, I'm good at this stuff. Let me get better, right? Let me not just be good. I want to get the tippity top of like whatever this field is that I'm exploring. For a while that was hacking. For a while that was like just engineering and like software or electrical engineering. And for a while it was like just the education process, right? I mean, it's a skill to be able to good at taking tests. Yeah. So how good can I get at taking tests? Everything became like a game, and I think that probably gamers or people who end up playing games subconsciously, or maybe I'm projecting, you guys tell me, but subconsciously we kind of make everything into like a little mini game, like let's get how good you can, how quick can I make sure that I can get up from the time I get up to having my first cup of coffee. You have this routine set up, right? And like, I think everything becomes like optimization in a way. It's not even like min maxing as much as it's almost like it's enjoyable to have like a process that you're good at, right? It's enjoyable to do things you're good at because then you keep getting this validation of like, okay, I'm good at this. I'm not wasting my time. And I think the trick is you got to keep making sure you're getting better. Otherwise, you're gonna get complacent. So I think that was the way that my mindset was. Like, I didn't take on much that I didn't know. It was like totally brand new. But on the flip side, I made sure that I'm pushing myself towards getting as good as I could in whatever I did choose to do.
Well, it's funny you brought up the optimization thing because that's like always constantly on my mind. Like even, okay, making breakfast. I have 4 eggs, 2 toasts every day. First time I made it, I made the eggs and then I put in the toast and I'm like, why did I do that? Why didn't I put the toast in first and then do the eggs? It's like, always thinking about that, right?
No, for sure. And like Wayne, I'm sure you have quirks too, like that. But I one of the funniest ones that for like I do myself is like after I do laundry, right? After I do laundry, I'm like super particular about, okay, like I can't leave it in the dryer too long after it's done. Yeah. But if I do, I have this second fallback plan. I'm like, okay, for 10 minutes, warm it, make sure the wrinkles go. It's just funny because after time, I think, probably because of experience, probably because of, you figure out ways to optimize even when you're already suboptimal. So I think this comes up quite often in life and gaming both, but you have like your optimal plan, but then when plan A fails, which often it does, right? For whatever reason, plan A fails, make sure your plan B and plan C is the best it could be given your new circumstance you're in. Obviously this applies to strategy. Obviously this applies to, adapting in game, adapting your mid round. When your original plan starts to fall through as a team, Valorant, CS, whatever game you're playing, you need to then make the best of your new situation. Whereas some players, I think that's when they start getting tilted. Like, wait, I can't do this strat anymore. Or like, why'd you throw away your flash? Like we needed that last flash. Now we can't, enter the site the way we planned to. Or then if you lose that round and you have someone in the driver's seat where, they had the idea of the round in mind. It didn't play out that way. And now their teammate messed up the reason that we couldn't execute properly. They're in that negative thought loop, right? And like helping them understand that, look, now we have this other game to play within this game, within this round. Like, okay, let's figure out why don't we have a less util heavy version of this exact if this is a situation we're in, right? So I just love that whole suboptimal pathway because you can figure out to be optimal in whatever situation you're in. You know what I mean?
Do you think that that's like people like that are attracted to gaming, or that gaming encourages people to be more like that, or both? Yeah. So like I think even before gaming I was like that. Like I'm constantly, again, it is just like a way that my brain works of
Mhm.
just optimizing all of that stuff just in general. Yeah, whether it's just like chores around the house or tasks or why didn't I do this or that, you know, kind of whatever. It's just like innate. And I think that I was that way before I was really playing games, and maybe that was part of why games were like
Yeah.
this is amazing.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I'm gonna agree. I think I was like that before gaming for sure. But I think gaming helps you understand the incentive structure to then apply even better. Because like after a certain point, like you're like that naturally, but you don't know how to set up incentives of like how do you change your habits or how do you make your habits better, or like maybe you do something as a routine and whatever it is, but it's not a good routine for you. You know, like waking up and immediately eating a shitload of like sugary cereal, probably not great for you, right? So like you want to make it optimized from that point onwards. I think gaming definitely helps with like how do you set up incentive structures of like there's a goal, there's objectives. I mean, people can get that from anything, like their sports, from education, from you know other things they do in life for sure as well. But gaming for me, I think helps set or allowed me to explore how to set incentive structures so I would do or follow through with things that I needed to get done, or you know I knew that was good for me, but I was procrastinating, whatever it is. So that definitely played hand in hand. What about you, Jimmy?
Yeah, I feel like maybe the more I think about it, I was already like that.
You're talking in real time.
We were
Right. Yeah.
No, but hey, man, thank you both for inviting me for this chat. I hope this is the first of many chats we have together. Honestly, because and those are the best chats, right? You walk away knowing that there's ton more to talk about. But really grateful to be able to talk with you guys to begin with.
Same.
Yeah. No. Thanks for your time.
Same.
No, thanks both of you guys again.
Thanks, Soham.
It means a lot.
Thanks.
Take it easy.
By the way, both of you guys' hairs look great.
I spent a lot of time.
Take it easy, guys. See ya.